G'day everyone, welcome back to the D2C Slingshot podcast. Today I'm joined with Yong-Li, the owner of Enbacci. Just want to quickly give us a rundown on your business and what you actually do.
So Enbacci is a luxury, Australian-made luxury skincare brand. We specialize in creating formulations with fruit and plant stem cells. So that's what we're most well known for. We've been in the Australian industry for about 10 years now. We're celebrating 10 years next week. So it's a great milestone for us. But yeah, basically we're a skincare brand dedicated to celebrating the Australian industry, Australian manufacturing industry, because I guess one of the things when you look at skincare and luxury skincare, most importantly, is that there are a few countries that kind of dominate that. So for us, when you ask somebody where do you think luxury skincare comes from, a lot of them will say US, France, Japan. But it's a real shame that nobody ever says Australia, because we have access to infrastructure and resources that are equally as good as these major players. So it was kind of like, well, why don't we create that and celebrate it?
Yeah, and what makes it so good?
So like I said, we're mostly known for our fruit and plant stem cell formulations. So essentially, fruit and plant stem cells are antioxidants for the skin. And they're really, really powerful antioxidants. So if you go and look at the efficacy researches that have been done on these particular ingredients in products, it's mind-blowing. It's amazing. So that's what makes one of our products so good. But the really beautiful thing about these fruit and plant stem cells as well is that they are sustainably sourced. So this is not something that we kind of capitalized on in the early days, but now we're kind of realizing how much of a good story this makes. But they're actually so sustainably sourced. So for example, the apples that we use in one of our eye creams. It's actually sourced from an apple variety called the Utfile Spätlauber. So it's a Swiss origins, and it's known for its durability and longevity. Now, one of the sad things about that, though, is that it's actually it's on the verge of extinction. So through the stem cell cultivation processes, we're actually supporting conservation practices as well. So that's a really cool thing. And then obviously through conservation, we're supporting biodiversity, encouraging habitat regrowth and preserving genetic biodiversity.
Yeah, awesome. And how did you even get into this field? Because you just told me about Australia or Swiss skincare market, which is a super saturated market. What made you even want to start this adventure?
So it's kind of going back to my journey a little bit more than a decade ago. So I was working in the family packaging business. My dad, he still has this packaging business, but he basically supplies a lot of your plastic packaging. So think about tubes, bottles, to some of the big players out there. And I was working with him alongside him, just doing whatever a family member can do, basic admin, helping with the emails here and there. And it's there that I learned a lot about product development. And I was also seeing this gap in the market for this Australian luxury, particularly that luxury side of things. And I was like, well, what? We have contacts, we have access. Why not create something? And it just so happened at the same point in time, my mum was actually suffering from just super sensitive skin. So everything would irritate her. And like I said, again, it was just this perfect opportunity. Well, why don't we create something that you could use and then market it or sell it off, and then celebrate again what Australia can create.
Yeah, that's an incredible story. So was there anything in that your dad's business that sort of pushed you to go more down the eco-friendly, sustainable aspect? Because I think you said plastic bags and sort of manufacturing.
Yeah, so the plastic. Yeah, this is going to open a can of worms. So there wasn't necessarily in his business at that point in time that made us want to go down that route. It was just always to us that it just made sense to be looking at products that have a sustainable aspect to it. So for example, when we launched, we only launched with 8 SKUs or 8 products. And one of those products was a microdermabrasion exfoliating scrub. And from early on, we already knew that we wanted to avoid using PE micro beads because they are causing great damage to our ocean ways. And they were before this was before they were actually banned in Australia. But we knew that we wanted to already kind of create that and create products that eliminated that problem. So yeah, so no real flow-on effect from the family business in terms of wanting to be sustainable. I think it was just one of the values that we carry forward from personal values that we carry through our business. But in terms of his business now in plastic packaging, he's actually like, this is one of those things where he's on the forefront of what changed and what can be changed. So he has access to things like the post-consumer recycled plastics, which is, I think, one of the best things that we can do as brand owners, as businesses, to incorporate within our businesses. And there's thankfully, because we have such a great contact there, we're able to incorporate that into our business quite early on. So yeah.
Yeah, awesome. And you just spoke a little bit about your launch, and I know you mentioned that you actually launched in Thailand, not Australia. So you just want to give me a rundown on that story, why it was a success or not so much.
Yep. So when we first created Enbacci, again, we didn't decide it would be suitable for the Australian market. We had a feeling that it was going to be better suited as an export brand. And it just so happened that we had contacts in Thailand. And this is one of those stories where it's like you trust a friend a little too much and you get burned. So unfortunately for us, long story short, is Thailand didn't work out. We did, so like I said, we launched in October in Thailand. We had a beautiful event. We had lots of media personnel there, but the partnership just wasn't right for us. And so we quickly withdrew from that. That being said, because we did have such a magnificent launch in Thailand, it did capture a lot of media attention. And I remember like getting phone calls from friends who actually are Thai friends, and they're being like, did you launch a brand here in Thailand? Like, we're seeing it everywhere. And I'm like, okay, something went. Like, the good takeaway is that it something resonated with that launch. And that we were able to kind of continue on that journey then, and we brought the brand back into Australia, and we decided that Australia was going to be our focus market kind of going forward, because I feel like you can't necessarily sell a brand overseas without having the full picture and the full Australian story developed over here.
Yeah, for sure. And with Thailand, did you launch into retail first, or was it direct to consumer online?
So it was, it's basically, we launched with multiple retailers. So, and a lot of like bespoke, so spas, salons, those kind of connections. And that was where, we had this relationship with ex-friend, and he was developing these connections with them and selling the products onto them. We had a lot of, and we also had kind of like one of those ambassador situations where you come on as a brand ambassador. It was kind of just before this social influencer marketing kind of really made waves in Australia or in the Western community. So in Asia, that was kind of already a big thing. And that's how people were already, I guess, recognized they could generate a side income through these ambassador programs. So we had some amazing talents who took on Enbacci as an ambassador, and that's how we kind of started over there.
Yeah. And was it the same in Australia? Did you open Prawn, or however you pronounce that suburb?
Yeah. So we actually took a more direct-to-consumer approach where we did have the online store. But what we also did for us in the early days is we focused heavily on bloggers and influencers, and I'm talking micro bloggers and influencers. And again, this was kind of in the early days of blogging and influencers where, it was relatively new, and blogging was very much blogging, like it was text. It wasn't visual. It wasn't. This is before Instagram kind of made it big. So we developed our relations there, and we had events where we invited them to come and join, and as obviously as part of that would be the expectation that they would then go and share their experience, their journey, their what they loved about their products and what have you. The beautiful thing about that journey is that a lot of these microbloggers or bloggers back then have, over the course of the 10 years that we've been around, have also grown with us, probably grown bigger than us in some respects as well. And because we have those relations, they are more than happy to share, any news that we may, any press release that we may have, come to events, support us, and yeah. And it's really nice to see that go out to their, their millions of followers in the communities.
Yeah, for sure. And how have you seen like the influencer marketing change since like 2010? Obviously, it was a massive boom, and then now the sort of market feel is like there's like obviously organic algorithm reach on Instagram. It's declined a lot. And it's sort of like a bit of a trend to say influencer marketing is dead. How have you found that?
I don't think it's dead. I think it's changing. One of the other things I think that plays into that, particularly in the personal care and beauty industry, is the regulations and the compliance that's coming through. So influencers having to say that things are gifted, contra gifting and what have you, or them being able to use specific terminology that I think some brands could have got away with as being not technically they can say, but somebody else can say for them. So I think a lot of those have come into play, and obviously reduced the impact of social media influencers and influencer strategy marketing.
Yeah, and you're just talking about some ACCC regulations at the moment, right?
That's not only the ACCC regulations. So these were TGA, so Therapeutic Goods of Australia. I think what may have hit headline news was when they were talking about sunscreens in particular. So not being able to talk about sunscreens on the platform as in general, because the sunscreens are a therapeutic product, not what we call a cosmetic product.
Okay. Yeah. I remember not too
Mm-hmm.
while ago, some headlines were floating around, and it's a bit of in a distant memory, but yeah, they were really cracking down on people like pretty much shilling skincare products, even though it might have some dangerous ingredients in it or something like that. And yeah, some of the claims were not within normal regulations. Is that right?
Well, yeah. So again, this was to do with the sunscreens in particular, saying that basically just social influencers saying, "Oh, I'm using this sunscreen," but not talking. And it's one of those things where it's medicalized as well. Like it's how to talk about medical advice and not giving medical advice where it's not actually from a medical professional. So that's where that crackdown was. In terms of I think you were asking the ACCC. So the ACCC was looking at greenwashing claims. So things where brands might say, "Oh, we're a sustainable brand." So making sustainability claims that aren't validated, really. And where that comes into play is, I think what we're seeing now is brands having to withdraw on things they're telling social influencers as to what they can say, kind of having to fact check what their press releases may say, and then so again, not having as much of an impact with their news blast as they previously could have had.
Yeah, cool. And what else have you seen change within the marketing space? Because you've been around for quite a while now, almost a decade, which is a very long time. How else have you seen like ebbs and flows? Like, have you jumped on like a new trend platform like TikTok, or tell me about some of those
so
ebbs and
TikTok was
flows.
something that's definitely new. It's not something that we feel fit our target market, so it's not something that we've heavily invested into. I guess one of the other things that we're seeing is, I think what there is going to be is there's going to be this shift from live streaming and live streaming sales. So it's very big in Asia and popular in Asia to do live streaming sales. It's, kind of like the equivalent of having television infomercials. Doing the buy now and you get this amount, this discount free.
I honestly haven't I haven't seen one yet. Like I've been hearing like whispers around social media and stuff like that. Live selling is going absolutely crazy. And I've like looked a little bit into it, but I haven't actually sat down and experienced that yet. Because as you said, every time I see an infomercial on TV, I'm like, I'm out of here. I'm going to do something else.
Yeah, I'm 100% on. I'm on that similar wavelength. But yeah, so in Asia, it is like the way to purchase products. And it's, there are so many different platforms. Like if we look at China alone, there are so many different platforms that cater to that specific selling method. In Australia, we really only have TikTok and Instagram, but you're seeing how these have their live streaming capabilities. And so I think what we're starting to see now is some brands jumping on and selling these, selling via those channels. So I think, one that I can come to mind is a crystal brand, and that's where they actually generated most of their revenues, particularly during COVID.
Yeah, it's crazy to think about. Like you just come across somebody live streaming talking about their crystals, and then you make an impulse purchase. It's crazy to me. So, yeah, what else have you changed? I know you're running some like Facebook ads at the moment. Like, how have you seen that industry change? I know you've taken it in-house recently. You're doing it a bit yourself.
Yeah. So it is one of those things where we used to try and outsource it because I always thought it's not something that I have experience in, and I think the experts could do it better. Unfortunately, I have yet to be proven wrong. I mean, yet to be proven right.
Yeah.
Yet to be proven right. Just unfortunately, yeah. So we haven't never had a really great experience with managers or ad managers. Also having that creative directive the way that you want it to be created, despite how many briefs you may send out. So it's just something that we decided to bring in-house and really try and learn and try and gear towards. So I recently signed up with e-commerce equation and their customers program. It's a 10-week course, and it's just to give a quick, like, I guess, introduction as how to set up your Facebook ads. And this is this is only Facebook ads. So looking at how you do your Facebook ads, setting them up, and just running them and evaluating them and testing them and understanding what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of like brand owners that do outsource early on don't actually understand like what's happening in the ad account, so they can't tell if an agency is doing well or not. I spoke to a lady just yesterday where she's like, oh, I've been with this company for 2 years, and I jumped into the ad account because she wanted an order because she thought things were going south. And I jumped in, I was like, these guys have spent thousands of dollars at like a 0.8 times return. I'm like, they haven't made you money. No wonder they weren't giving you actual spend versus return, because they were saying, oh, I can't really pull that up. It's a bit messy, like the algorithm, the tracking, the blah, blah, blah. And I just pulled it up right in front of her, and she was like, oh, yeah, like no wonder they weren't showing it, because they weren't actually generating return. And that's where I think it's really important for new starts just to learn the basic like fundamentals of like even just to click around the Facebook ads manager, pull up metrics like ROAS or your cost per purchase or your purchase conversion value and stuff like that. I think it's very important for brand owners to understand, because there is so many horror stories out there of brands being burned by not so good agencies.
Yes, 100%. And it's not only like Facebook ads, it's also like Google ads and understanding SEO. That's something that we've had to learn over the years as well, because I think it's changed so much, and keeping on top of it. One of my things as a business owner or as a business leader is that you need to know every aspect of your business. Even if you don't do it, you should understand just the basics and how it works. So staying on top of it, 100%.
Yeah. So obviously you've got your physical location and your online store as well. How do you stay on top of both those revenue streams?
It's pretty easy. You MyOb. MyOb is great. Um, my favorite platform. Um,
I'm a zero man, so that's what
well,
my accountant uses anyway. So
well, we only use Maya because obviously we have multiple locations. So we have the store and we also have the warehouse. And so for us, it's important to keep track of inventory, and that's the best way for us to keep track of inventory. Um, how do we do both revenue streams? I guess, like I said, making sure you stay up to date with your accounting and know where your revenue is coming from. For us, we know that a lot of it is coming from e-commerce.
mhm.
Um, and on top of that, sorry, I didn't also mention we also have, so we have store, we have warehouse, we also have, so we have e-commerce, and then we also have exports that we still do. So, and understanding again, mapping out those channels, knowing where those revenues are coming from, um, making the monthly report or quarterly report as necessary.
Yeah, it would be difficult. And how do you advertise the different sectors, like your physical location compared to your online store?
So physical, for us, we actually really decided just to leave physical alone as it is. If people are coming to us, if people are looking at for the brand anyway, or looking at anything, they're going to see that we have a physical location. Um, so physical, we leave it mainly as it is. It's a place for, I guess, more that credibility and to offer that additional experience.
Yeah.
Um, Being a luxury brand for us, experience for me has been key. I remember from one of my early retail days, a manager has said to us, is um, having someone walk through the door and providing them with that ultimate experience. No, they may not buy something that day, but it's the next time they visit, or the next time they visit, or when they're coming back to purchase that engagement ring, that they've remembered that first experience you gave them, and so that's why they could return. So for me, having this physical location is an ability to do that.
Mm.
What we do, we offer in store is we offer this like you can come and try and purchase and try any of our products, and if you want to, we will sit down with you and give you a little mini facial and teach you how to use the products. And just taking that time, building that rapport with your customer, letting them know that you're here to listen and know their concerns, and help them, educate them through their skincare journey. That's, to me, that little bit of luxury that we get. Um, yeah.
It's a
Did
bit
I answer
like
your question? I'm not sure if I answered your question. I
yeah,
think I
yeah, it
segued
is.
majorly there.
No, it's fine. It's pretty much like how I look for like a cafe to take my girlfriend out to lunch or dinner. It's like I don't actually know what's in town. I would just go on Instagram and start flicking through the local directory of like local restaurants and stuff until I find one that actually looks aesthetically pleasing on Instagram, and then I'll go to the physical location. So it's a bit similar there, and it's sort of a concept that sort of grew Culture Kings to where it is at now as well, because the
Yeah,
founder there, he's like, I just want like for young like young teenagers like 15, 16, when they get their first paycheck, like he wants an experience so good where they're just like, I want to spend my first paycheck at Culture Kings and give them that experience that they're going to remember for the rest of their
yeah,
life. And that's how he's made his millions, just by creating those like in-house experiences, because they have like
yeah,
basketball courts and DJs and all that sort of stuff as well.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah, it's very
exactly.
interesting that you give people that experience in-house, where I've never seen Mecca do that. Well, not that I've been in Mecca
I
too
I
much.
think I think they've actually just started to roll it out, or something similar along the lines of that. Um, but yeah, I want to say we're what's that word? Pioneers in our industry.
Yeah,
Um, but no, and kind of going further, I think this is kind of go back to your question and actually answer your question. How do we market to the different incomes? So for the store as well, what we recognize was, um, we have a clear age bracket who look for things like the physical location, and a clear target market. So our clear target market for the store itself is 45 plus mums, people who don't want to purchase online. Where we use the store, we actually get also a lot of phone call orders, whether that be in Western Australia or Queensland. That's what the store is really there for. Um, Online, the target market there is a bit younger, so it's your 25 plus, and
yeah.
that's when we advertise to the 25 plus year olds.
Yeah, it's funny that people still ring up a physical location because I'm 25 and especially the girls around my age don't like making phone calls
Phone calls. Yep.
whatsoever, even if it's just to like as again book a restaurant or something like that. If there's like no online booking form, like we're just avoiding that place because they won't book it. So yeah, it's very funny that 40 plus still order by phone.
Yeah, and it's also like I think the convenience. A lot of the times with shopping online is just convenient, and you avoid. It's funny. Some people avoid face-to-face communication where other people seek it. So I
Yeah.
think by having both, we cover our bases.
Yeah, it's definitely like me when I go into Bunnings, like that person at the front, I'm straight to them, like, where's this? Whereas
Yeah,
like other people will just go and get lost for half an hour and waste all their time. So
bring
yeah, it's
out
very
the
funny.
Bunnings website, look at which aisle it's on, and then
I
figure
just
out
bring
where
out
the
the
aisle
product
is.
and I'm like, where's this? But yeah, that's funny. Obviously, we're coming to the end a bit, but do you have like any hot takes in the industry in at the moment in the skincare space?
Um, a few. Obviously the sustainability aspect, the sustainability marketing side of things is coming up. We're seeing that a lot of people are learning to market their sustainability journey. One of the ways we do this is through sustainabilitytracker.com, and I think a platform like that is something that you're going to see and people refer to a lot to in the future. Um, I think in Australia, particularly, we're seeing this minimalism as well. So, and that again works in hand with the sustainability, people wanting to live in a more sustainable lifestyle. And what does that mean? To me, it means conscious consumerism. So, we're going to start purchasing less. I think we might start to see a little bit of what's that word? A hit back against, the Black Friday, Cyber Mondays, the click frenzies. Um, not so much in the next couple of years, but kind of going forward, because as people are then trying to, be conscious of where they're spending their money, and this minimalism approach that's starting to grow. We're already seeing it in the skincare industry where 2 years ago the Korean 10-step skincare trend was huge,
Yeah.
and that was how many, it's like how many products can we put on our face in one night, whereas now we're being like, okay, that's not necessarily the most sustainable way to go about things. What are the key products that I can just use at night? And it might just be a 2 or 3 step instead of 10. We're seeing
You just
this.
need the 3-in-1 shampoo and conditioner that all the males use.
Yes and no. I like to say so we recently launched a cleansing balm. I call it the Calm Reset Cleansing Balm, and that is what I think is kind of trending now in the skincare industry. So it's your makeup remover, but it's got moisturizing factors, as well as the cleansing effect. So it's like your 3-in-1 product there. So those kind of things is what I'm seeing. You're also seeing what's called skinification, and that's basically when makeup products or color cosmetics are now including ingredients that are typically reserved for cosmetic skincare. So yeah.
Yeah, interesting. And what about like AI? Are you playing around in that area at the moment? What are you doing there?
Yeah, most
Any
definitely.
apps that you're using?
So obviously, because our website is through Shopify, and Shopify obviously have like integrated a lot of AI technology through just like product description and what have you. And I'm always there, just like highlighting what we currently have and clicking the AI and seeing what they come up with. ChatGPT as well, obviously, is like amazing in terms of just getting like an idea started.
Yeah.
And understanding that copyright and understand like knowing where you could actually make your copyright better or worse. Obviously still holes and things that need to be fixed, but it's kind of just that starting platform. I saw someone recently say, actually no, people will probably know this, so Wrapped, which used to be her little black book or her black book. They're like a kind of like a shopback cashback reward system. But the founders there said that they actually did and ran their whole campaign through AI generated images. Like you'll occasionally get the 6 fingers or like the 4 hands, but overall, like the overall imagery has been pretty amazing. And just to see what comes out of that. So yeah, so a lot of, like, I guess, content development is going towards AI.
Yeah, for sure. Content is king, as everybody says. And Facebook, because, like, just speaking in my expertise, like, Facebook's moving more and more towards AI as well. It's less hands-on and it's more about creative and copy, allowing that to do the targeting for you just through the feedback loops that the audience will give you. Feed that to the AI and then be like, hey, we don't want to show any more skincare to men. Let's go to all women, and then narrow down the age ranges like that. So,
Yeah, yeah,
it's a
exactly.
pretty interesting space and one I'm definitely keeping a close eye on.
Yeah. I mean, like, as a small business owner, it's always like, how can we maximize where we put our effort, right? So for us, if our specialty isn't necessarily content development, well, then you're going to see where else you can handball that task to. And if AI is one of those ways where you can get your general idea out there, but have something created and bring it to life, it's pretty amazing.
Yeah, for sure. Well, just before we finish up, do you want to leave the listeners with any last thoughts or opinions? Maybe a word of advice?
Yes. I think one of the things I always say about any business, and particularly if you're in the beauty and personal care industry, is understanding IP and having your own IP. It's such a capital for you to have. Capital's the right word. It's an asset. Sorry, an asset for you to have. So, I think one of the things we're seeing at the moment is a huge rise in these little indie brands that are Instagram famous or TikTok famous. But to me, I know that for them to start to get to where they are, we're looking at a 12 to 24 month development plan, and not a lot of these little brands have done that. So from a compliance and regulatory perspective, you got to question whether they've ticked all their boxes and crossed all their T's and dotted their I's. From an innovative perspective, you've got to ask whether they actually created those brands, or whether these products, or whether they're white labeling. And white labeling is basically where somebody else has manufactured the product and they sell it to you and just put your label over it, and they sell it to another person and put their label over it.
That's pretty much how everyone's creating brands with AI. It's just the AI creating a logo and sourcing the white label
there is
product.
That too. Yes, exactly. And so I guess one of the things is, for me, it's having that IP and making sure you do create your own formulations and owning those formulations, because for me, that's what separates you also from the market, right? In our case, us having the fruit and plant stem cells in our product formulations, that's a key selling point for us and a unique selling point for us. So yeah, wherever you can, make sure you own your IP. If you need to copyright it, have it copyrighted. Make sure you speak with a copyright lawyer.
Yeah, awesome. So thanks so much for coming on. And just before I let you go, just want to share your socials or where people can interact with you as well.
Yep. So for Instagram, you can follow Enbacci. So it's just at Enbacci, Enbacci. Follow me on Instagram as well, and it's just my name, Yong-Li Zhou, Yonglizhou. You can follow me on LinkedIn. Go to our website, www.enbacci.com, or you can head to our store if you're in Melbourne, which is at 552 High Street in Paran.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks so much for coming on today. I really enjoyed this one.
Thank you. Lucky